I'm going to stamp into the ink pad, okay, and I'll show you what first generation looks like. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to, actually maybe I have to do it this way around, I'll get 3 on. So this is first generation. Okay, so I'll just lift that off like that. And then I'm gonna, well, if I keep it there and do second generation, just straight the next one, then it will look like that. Okay, so you can see the difference. So this one's a lot more pronounced around the edge as well, and this one is a lot less. So what you can do, I'm just going to put that to one side and I'm going to bring in another piece of card. And I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to just do second generation. So I'm going to stamp into the ink pad with my block. And then I'm going to stamp off, okay? But to make sure that I get a distinct border around my block, I'm going to come back in and I'm just going to dab the edges of the block back into the ink. So just going around and just dabbing the edges so that when I come now onto my card, I should get a more defined, even though it's going to be less color on the inside, I should get a more defined outer area. Okay, so just bringing that back in to show you, it's there's a lot better of a border on that one than there is on this one, so it's a lot more defined. Okay, and then I could, again, I don't know how much ink is going to be on this, but I'll just do another going around the outside and just do a last one, which will be very, very faint, but we'll just go with it and see what we end up with. Okay. All right, so that one, we've still got, there's still color in here, and we've got a defined border. I must have forgot to do that edge, which is absolutely fine because it's more of an artistic look. So then I'm going to get my butterflies and I will just clean this and then stick my butterfly on here. And then I'm going to come in with my just first generation stamp. And I'm going to do a butterfly in the first. And because it's a photopolymer, and I say this every week, I'm going to just hold that on there for some time just to let that ink soak in back into the card. Oh, so I'm going to do one butterfly there, and then I'm going to come back in and do another butterfly on there. Okay, and that's that one. And then I just layer it up like I've done that one. I'll just layer that up with the purple card behind the Highland Heather. And that would be another card, and I'll put some bling on the, so it would be, I need to just trim that down to make my layer, but it would look like that. And I'll just pop a bling on each of those centers. I'm just going to cut that down. So this layer would then be cut down to 3.5. But I'm just going to be careful about cutting it so that I cut sort of an even amount off both sides. And then I need to cut it down to 5.25. But again, I'm going to just take enough from top and bottom so that I still got it centered. Well, hopefully, she says. And then I'm going to just stick that onto my card layer, which is the lovely Highland Heather. And just redefining that border by going around the edges of the acrylic block just gives you a totally different look. So it does. So it's just there we go. It's just showing you a little trick really. so that it really defines, because you can see how much it defined this one really, really clearly and really made it pop out. And again on this one, I've really made it pop. So on that, then I'll just get layered straight onto a card base. So I'll just pop that on there. And again, I would be putting a little butterfly on the inside just to bring the outside of the card inside. Put a little butterfly just there, and I'm just going to add some bling on the middle of my butterflies. So I shall just see what I've got here. That one looks about the right size there. Might need to just add a little bit of, hopefully not a big splurge of glue, but just a little dab of glue on there. Okay, so oops, that one on there, and then on that side, so it looks about the same there. Okay, so just a little bling, and really that's all that needs. You could do something similar on watercolor card. I mean, you will get a different look if you spritz. So if I just move these out of the way, I'll just show you what that would look like. So I'll leave this one out so you can have a compare and contrast. But I've got a piece of watercolor here. I'm just going to pop my butterfly off to one side just for a second. Just pop that on there. I'm actually going to just pop that up so that I don't spritz everywhere. Just grab my spritzer spray. So I've got my spritzer. And then what I would do is the same thing again. I'm going to dip into the ink and I'm going to just spray the card as well, just slightly. So just a bit of a spritz. And then I'm going to dip in, and this time I'll probably just go full generation and we'll just see what it looks like. So just come in, stamp that down, and then you've got more of a watercolored look. Okay, and if you wanted to, you could add a little bit more water, just where it's sort of, actually I could probably just add a little bit more water on my block and come back in there and just stamp that out a little bit more. Oh, there we go. And then I would just, you can let that run a little bit just to get a little bit more definition. You can, even if you don't want to have the white bits, but I think it just adds character, get a water brush and just brush that over. But you get a really nice finish with the watercolor look, I think. So I'll just pop that under the heat gun and draw it off, and then we can stamp on that and you can see the difference. So sorry, I'm going to be noisy for a second. Just ground that so that I can then stamp into it. So I'm just going to get my Stamparatus out, which is stamp positioning tool, just so that when I stamp on here, in case, because it's on watercolor card, it's a bit thick, and I want to make sure that it's going to stamp clearly, and this gives me more than one chance, basically, which is sometimes what you need when you're stamping onto the watercolor. So I'm just going to grab one of my other butterflies. It's the Butterfly Wishes stamp, and I'm just going to use this one. It's just a little bit different. and I will just set that where I want to stamp, and then I'm just going to bring the lid over and then lift that up, and then I'm going to just ink it up. So add the ink to it, and as I say, I might need to do this more than once because, as I say, it's watercolor. And so stamp that down and then bring it up. Yeah, I'm going to stamp it again and bring that over. Oops, sorry, I'm clipping the camera there. And then I'll just do that one more time, I think, just to get it really well defined. And there you are. And that's it on watercolor. So that looks a little bit more arty, to be fair. Really pretty, actually, how that's turned out. I'll just clean that up. And then we shall pop that back in the box, and I can just move my stamp apparatus out of the way for a second. I'm just going to trim this down a little bit so that it'll fit on my silver piece. So I'm just going to close that ink pad because I can be a little bit clumsy and end up with things going into. So that's 3 3/4. So if I just trim this down to 3 1/2. So again, I'm just going to be careful about taking equal bits off each side so it still kind of remains centered. Taking the same amount off top and bottom. Okay. And I'm going to use red tape with this rather than my glue because it's watercolor and it's a little bit, what's the word, sort of, because it's been wet and stuff, I think it'll just sit better if I use the watercolor card, or sorry, the red tape, because it's been on watercolor card. So let's just put this down, and this just holds it a little bit better, I think. Probably just use the red tape around the edges and a little bit of glue on the inside anyway, but it's just so that it holds it firmly in place. Oops, Daisy. Lifting. Okay, I have to just use the skinny because I've run out. So just pop a little bit around the edge there. And then it's a bit fiddly getting the, that's it, getting the top of that. Sometimes if you just rub it over with your bone folder, it can help in lifting up the tape off because it just is a little bit more temperamental than standard double-sided. So kind of if you warm up the glue underneath using your finger or the bone folder can really help just pick up that. And I've got the tape all over me because it's static. So I'll just add a little bit of glue to the edges where the tape hasn't actually quite met, just so it's secure. And then I'm going to stick that down on the silver. So standing up again. And then just positioning that just nice and centered, like so. And then I will pop that onto a square card, like so, just to finish that off. Okay, I'll probably just pop that up on dimensions, and I'll get a bling again for the center. Oops, Daisy, sorry, just caught the camera there, reaching across. And I'll just grab some bling just to pop in the center there again, just to finish it off. And then I'll show you the two different looks side by side so you can see. Okay, so that's your watercolor, and that's the So it's actually a bit more of a richer colour really on the watercolour than just the standard Stampin', to be fair. It's a lot more of a darker colour, but you've got more of a sort of artistic wash look with that. So there you go, that's Stampin', using your Stampin' blocks in two different ways. And don't forget about reaffirming the border, because that really helps. I'm gonna be masking off the card, and then using my blending brushes and some inks, I'll create a band on the card, and then we'll stamp onto that band when we have finished doing the masking area. And I just used some post-it notes to create the mask. And I also used, I'll just show you, I had some washi tape, and it's not very sticky washi tape. And if you're using washi tape, I would suggest that you just rub it on your clothes first. So just to show you, I kind of just would put it on whatever I'm wearing like that, and then just lift it off, and that takes a lot of the sticky off, because it will just get covered in the fluff from your clothes, so that it is a lot less tacky. And then when you stick that on a card and lift it up, it's not going to pull or rip the card. So that's a suggestion, just a little hint and tip that I learned through going to craft class. So I'm going to actually mask off with post-it notes, or you could use a bit of scrap paper, basically whatever you have to hand. But I just have a pack of post-it notes in with my blending brushes. So I'm going to just use these. And I don't always get this straight. I'm going to use my grid paper, hopefully, to get it as straight as I possibly can. So I'll kind of line up from one edge looking here, sort of at this level on the grid paper. If I had longer post-it notes, it would be a lot better, but I couldn't find them. So as is the way. So I'm gonna just, oops Daisy, my card's moving. Sorry, just gonna move some bits out of the way so I've got a bit of space to do this. So pop that there. So actually what I could do is actually just anchor my card down. So I'm going to just put a little bit of tape there and a little bit of tape. Just so if you've got one of those like green Stampin' mats that's got the ruler all on it, that would work equally as well. So I'm just anchoring my card so that it stays in the same place. So I've got a bit of washi just anchored down there, and that will help now when I come to create my border here. That's going to really help. So I'll just come across to this little square here. So that's that one. And what I'm trying to avoid actually is having a lip between my two post-it notes. So it's probably not going to be exactly straight, but it's going to be as straight as I can get it. There we are. That's that one. And I said I'm going to do a wider strip this time because I'm using I'm not going to put any sentiment on. So because I'm not going to do any sentiment, I'd like to make sure that I have, actually going to use that because then that's going to be straight across. There we are. So I'm going to just mask that off there and there. I don't want any white shown because I got a bit crazy with my brushes yesterday and I ended up unfortunately getting some ink on the bottom half of the card. Even though I had all the stuff down, I had a little gap and I ended up getting ink on there. So I want to try and avoid that today. So I'm using my blending brushes here, so I'll just grab these out and I will choose probably 2 ink colours to use. So I've got a sort of yellowy colour here, and I've got pale, so Coastal Cabana and Pineapple Punch. I'll just try these 2. We're going to just give it a go. Just making sure that that's clean and doesn't have any ink on it. So I'm going to go in with a lighter color first. So I'm just going to rub the brush into the ink, and then I always start off the card. I don't come straight onto the card, because if I do that I'll get quite a heavy sort of layer of ink. So I kind of start by just brushing lightly away from the card, and then I'll come on and I'll just kind of bring that color in. So do the same again, just start off the card and then bring that color in, and very subtle. So start off the card and then bringing that color in. So I'm just kind of coloring that whole area with that pineapple punch. And then I'm going to come in with that sort of bluey color. I don't know, it's getting hearts into my brushes. I think I've been using a darker blue with this, so there is quite a lot of blue ink on this anyway. So I might just come in there first with that, and then I'll come into my ink and then bring that in, and just coming along, building up the color, always starting off and then coming in. So, and I'll just keep going, and I'm just going to come along the top here. Might need a slightly darker color because that's quite light. Although you think that until you pull away the tape, and then you think, oh, actually it stands out quite a lot. Okay, so I think it's nice and subtle, so I'll stop there, and then I'm going to just lift. Oh, I'm not going to lift away yet. I need to stamp first. Oh, nearly. So I'm going to get my dandelions. So I've got my dandelion wishes here, which is a really pretty little stamp, and I'm going to use the 3 dandelions. And I will get my stamp block. I wonder which stamp block I use, because that's not. I might have to use my other one, because I've just realised that I don't know. I must have did that on the Stamparatus maybe. So I'm going to use the other one for now, because I don't have a block to hand, and I don't want to go rummaging when trying to find a block. So we'll just work with this for now. So I'm just going to get this here stamp and just position it in that space and stamp down. And I lift up. And then when I just peel away, we'll have this lovely band of colour, and then the rest of the card will be blank. So you've got that look. So that's a really nice, you know, if you were doing a card like here, then you can just stamp underneath. I could just have a little sentiment either gone along the bottom here or just along the top edge. You don't have to have a big stamp, but I just really like that. Just wanted to send some happy thoughts your way. So I thought that was a really pretty one, so I've used that. So this one then will just get layered onto a piece of card. A layer for the background, because I wasn't sure what colour of inks I would end up using. So I shall just cut a layer here. Oops, got 2 bits of card. So I'm going to just trim this down to, actually I could use this as the card piece, couldn't I? So if I do that 11 and 3/4. Never mind. I'll find out in a second when I score it in the middle. I'm just going to make a long card base here and just stick it straight on. And then if I do that, I think enough. Just trim off that tiny edge. And I'll stick that on and see. easy. On the edge, I'll sort that out with a pair of scissors. Okay, so just got me. I'm just going to do a full colour card base. I'll probably have to trim this down anyway. Let's just have a look. Oh no, that's going to fit on there perfectly. So I've just done a green card base, and I'll just hopefully, there we go, get my glue flowing. Stacy's being temperamental today. Oops, there we go. Okay, and we'll just stick that down on the center of the card there, like so. And that's really that then. So as I say, if you were doing it as a normal card, you could have your sentiment just added at the bottom, or as I say, just a single line. And I'm going to pop a little bit of bling right in the center of my dandelion. Just turn that over, and hopefully there's no just to get that really secure. I was just hoping that there was no ink on my mat that was going to get picked up one of these larger diamantes on here in the middle of that. There we go, and that's that done. Now I'll just show you the two different ones side by side so you can have a look. So I made that quite a bit wider that time, just as I say, because I wasn't going to add any words. And then on the inside I will put a little insert that I'll stamp the dandelion onto, so that I'm bringing, again, as I always say, the outside of the card in. So I shall just do some of these little whimsical dandelion edges here. So I'll get these and get my stamp block, and we'll just very carefully ink those up, and then we'll just have those coming down the side there like that. So just 3 generation ink in there. Okay, and then I will pop that back in the box. I didn't use that one. Just clean that one up and we'll pop that in, and then we'll stick that in, just giving that time to dry so that I don't put me inky fingers all over it and then it's smudge on me. Must be at the very end of my glue, unfortunately. So just pop that on there like that, get it centered, and then I'm just going to close the lid of the card over to secure that. So I'll just do that, pop it down again, and just rub that out like that, just to get that securely fixed to the inside. So there we go, just a tiny spurt at the top there. So that's that done. Okay, I don't know, I did put dandelions on the inside of that one. Okay, so that's that.